1 month after my daughter's wedding, the photographer called me and said, "Sir, I noticed something terrible. Come immediately and don't say anything to your daughter." What he showed me changed everything. The phone rang just as I sat down my coffee. Tuesday morning, quiet house. Financial report spread across my desk. The kind of peaceful moment I'd earned after 40 years building Reynolds Hardware. 3 stores across Phoenix. Good business, good life. I almost didn't answer the unknown number. "Mr. Reynolds." The woman's voice trembled. "This is Carolyn Thornton. I photographed Jack Will's wedding last month. I need to see you immediately alone. Please don't tell your daughter." My hand tightened on the phone. "What's wrong?" "I can't explain over the phone, but I found something in the photographs. Something very serious." The air in my office changed. Became thinner somehow. "What kind of something?" "Tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, my studio downtown. Please, Mr. Reynolds, come alone." Before I could respond, Wendy's voice exploded from the kitchen. "Ben, I told you 3 times already. I need that car. My Honda is embarrassing. You promised you'd ask him today." Benjamin's laugh rumbled from the living room, some television show blaring beneath it. "I'll be there," I said into the phone, barely hearing my own voice. Carolyn exhaled. "Thank you. I'm so sorry, Mr. Reynolds, I really am." She hung up. I sat motionless at my desk, the phone still pressed to my ear, staring at the framed photograph on my wall. Jacqueline in her wedding dress, radiant. Samuel beside her in his tuxedo. 1 month ago, $65,000 I'd spent on that day. Worth every penny to see my eldest daughter happy. Something very serious in the photographs. "Dad." Wendy appeared in my doorway, phone in one hand, car keys in the other. "Did you hear me? I need money for a new car. The Honda is 7 years old, and it's humiliating." I looked at my youngest daughter, 31 years old, living in my house for 4 years now, temporarily, she'd said when she moved in after her divorce. Benjamin had followed 6 months later. "No rent, no end date. We'll talk about it later, sweetheart." "Later. I need to go to the dealership this week. Melissa got a new Lexus and I can't keep showing up in that piece of junk." I turned back to my computer screen. The numbers blurred. "Dad, are you listening?" "Later." "Wendy." She huffed and disappeared. Her footsteps stomped up the stairs. A door slammed. I picked up my coffee. Cold now. Through my office window. The Paradise Valley morning stretched bright and cloudless. July heat already building. Everything looked normal. Felt wrong. The day crawled forward. I tried focusing on inventory reports, quarterly projections, payroll schedules. My mind kept circling back to Caroline's trembling voice. The wedding had been perfect, hadn't it? Jacqueline had glowed. Samuel had been attentive. The ceremony at the Botanical Gardens, reception at that upscale resort, everything elegant, tasteful, expensive. What could possibly be wrong with the photographs? Around noon, Benjamin wandered into my office without knocking. Never knocked. Just walked in like he owned the place. "Hey, Pops. Wendy says you're being weird about the car thing." I didn't look up from my computer. I said we'd discuss it later. "Yeah, but she's pretty set on it. Maybe just give her the money, keep the peace." He leaned against my doorframe, arms crossed. 38 years old, no job. Living off my daughter's allowance, which meant living off me. "Benjamin, I'm working." Sure. Just saying. Happy wife, happy life, right?" He grinned and left. Happy wife. He'd never married Wendy. 4 years together, living in my house, and he couldn't be bothered to make it official. But he had opinions about how I should spend my money. I stood and walked to my window. Below, my pool sparkled unused. The guest house where Wendy and Benjamin stayed sat at the far edge of the property. Separate entrance, full kitchen, 2 bedrooms. I'd had it built, thinking visiting grandchildren might use it someday. No grandchildren, just Wendy and Benjamin. The afternoon bled into evening. I heated leftover pasta, ate alone at my kitchen counter while Benjamin occupied my living room, and Wendy video called someone upstairs, her laugh piercing through the ceiling. At 7:30, my doorbell rang. Jacqueline stood on my front step, perfect as always. Tailored blazer, designer jeans, that smile she'd inherited from her mother. My eldest, my successful one, marketing executive, beautiful home, well, apartment currently married to Samuel Pfizer, investment banker. "Hi, Daddy." She kissed my cheek and walked past me into the house. I was in the neighborhood. Thought I'd stop by. Paradise Valley to her place in Scottsdale wasn't the neighborhood, but I didn't mention it. She settled onto my couch, crossed her legs, looked around the living room like she was appraising it. How are you? You look tired. Long day, business things. She picked up a framed photo from my side table. Her and Wendy as children. Studied it. Set it back down slightly off center. Samuel and I have been house hunting. We found the most incredible place in Scottsdale. 4 bedrooms, pool, mountain views. Absolutely perfect. I sat in the chair across from her, waited. The thing is, we need to move fast. Market's competitive right now. We need help with the down payment. She smiled warmly. 40,000. You understand, right? After everything you spent on the wedding, this is just completing the picture. Helping us start our life together properly. $40,000 said like she was asking to borrow my truck. Something in my chest tightened. That hollow feeling from earlier expanded. 40,000, I repeated. Is that a problem? A slight edge entered her voice. So slight most people wouldn't catch it. Dad, we need to move fast. The market is competitive. I thought you'd want to help us start our life together properly. I looked at my daughter. Really looked at her. The designer clothes, the manicured nails, the practiced warmth that didn't quite reach her eyes. Let me think about it, sweetheart. Her smile faltered just for a second. Think about it, Dad. This is important.
Samuel and I need to review some things first.
She stood abruptly. Fine, but don't take too long. We can't lose this house. She grabbed her purse, kissed my cheek again, colder this time. Love you, Daddy. Call me soon. I watched her Mercedes pull away, standing in my doorway. $40,000 delivered like I'd already agreed, like my money was her money. Benjamin's laughter echoed from the living room, sports highlights on my television, his beer bottle sweating onto my coffee table. I walked back inside, but something had shifted. The house felt different. Or maybe I was seeing it clearly for the first time. My phone sat on the hall table where I had left it. Caroline's number still in the call log. Tomorrow morning, her studio. Whatever she'd found on those wedding photographs, I had a feeling it would explain this hollow sensation spreading through my chest. I picked up the phone and looked at Jacqueline's last text. Thanks for understanding about the house, Dad. Love you. I hadn't agreed to anything, but she'd assumed. They all assumed. I left the house before Wendy woke up. Didn't want questions. Didn't want Benjamin asking where I was going with that look he got. Like everything I did required his approval in my own home. The drive to downtown Phoenix took 25 minutes. Tuesday morning traffic, I-51 South, then surface streets to Caroline's studio. A converted warehouse in the Arts District. Her name on a brass plate beside the door. My hands were steady on the steering wheel, but my mind kept replaying her voice on the phone. Something very serious. I parked across the street, sat in the truck for a moment. Whatever was inside that studio, whatever Caroline had found, it would explain Jalene's casual request for $40,000. It would explain the hollow feeling I'd carried since the wedding. I knew it would. I just didn't want to know how. The studio smelled like coffee and printer ink. Professional photographs lined the walls. Weddings, families, corporate headshot. Caroline met me at the door, younger than I'd remembered from the wedding day. Mid-40s maybe. Nervous hands, apologetic eyes. Mr. Reynolds, thank you for coming. She locked the door behind me. I have everything set up in the editing room. I followed her through the gallery space to a smaller room dominated by a large monitor and computer equipment. Wedding portfolios stacked on shelves. The window overlooked an alley. Morning light filtered through dusty glass. Can I get you coffee, water? I'm fine. I wasn't fine. Please just show me. She nodded and sat at her computer. I remained standing behind her chair. Mr. Reynolds, I almost didn't call you. I went back and forth for days, but if I were in your position, I'd want to know. Please understand, I didn't go looking for this. My throat tightened. Show me. Her fingers moved across the keyboard. The monitor filled with images from Jacqueline's wedding. The ceremony. My daughter walking down the aisle. Samuel waiting at the altar. Guests smiling. Everything beautiful. Everything perfect. These are the standard shots. Caroline said softly. What you saw at the wedding, what everyone saw. She clicked to the next folder. 2 hours before the ceremony. I was at the restaurant venue early, testing exposures, calibrating equipment. There's a terrace overlooking the courtyard. Another click. I was shooting through a window, adjusting light settings. The image appeared. My hands gripped the back of her chair. Samuel, my son-in-law, in his tuxedo, not yet buttoned properly, pressed against a woman with red hair. Not my daughter, kissing her, his hands in her hair, Her arms around his neck. Not a friendly embrace. Not a goodbye to an old friend. Intimate, possessive, familiar. How long before the ceremony? My voice sounded far away. You're certain about the time? 2 hours before. The metadata is here. Date, time, GPS coordinates. She pulled up a technical display. Numbers, timestamps, location data. I was at the restaurant venue early testing exposures through a window. I captured this by accident, but it's real. And there are multiple shots. She clicked forward. Different angles. Same scene. Samuel and the red-haired woman locked together. In one photo, the woman's hand was visible. Left hand pressed against Samuel's chest. Wedding ring. Gold band. Diamond. The woman. I leaned closer to the screen. The wedding ring. Do you know who she is? Carolyn shook her head. I don't recognize her from the guest list. I'm so sorry, Mr. Reynolds. She pulled up another image. This one showed Samuel's face clearly. No confusion in his expression, no drunken stumble, just confidence, control. A man who knew exactly what he was doing. 2 hours before marrying my daughter. I straightened slowly. My knees felt weak. The room tilted slightly, then righted itself. Can you prove the timing? Absolutely. Prove it. Yes. Caroline opened another window, showed me technical data I barely understood, digital fingerprints, file information, GPS coordinates matching the restaurant location, timestamps down to the second. This is forensic level evidence, Mr. Reynolds. It would hold up anywhere. She reached into her desk drawer and pulled out a small flash drive. Everything is here. All the photos, all the metadata, technical documentation. I made copies. She held it out to me. I don't know what you'll do with this information, but I believe you should have it. I took the flash drive, closed my fist around it. Don't apologize, I said. You did the right thing. The drive back to Paradise Valley passed in a blur. I gripped the steering wheel tight, stared at the road, but my mind was somewhere else entirely. Samuel Pfizer, investment banker, polished, articulate, successful, everything I'd wanted for my daughter. Kissing another woman 2 hours before their wedding. A woman wearing a wedding ring. Not a mistake, not cold feet, calculated, deliberate. Why marriage Colin at all? The question circled my thoughts like a vulture. Why go through with a $65,000 wedding to a woman you were betraying hours before the ceremony? Why make those vows? Why smile in those photos? What was the point? My truck knew the way home without my thinking. Paradise Valley streets, my neighborhood, my driveway. The flash drive sat in my pocket, heavy as a stone. I pulled into my driveway just after 11. The house looked the same as when I'd left 2 hours ago. Same desert landscaping, same security light that needed fixing, same everything. But I wasn't the same. I opened the front door. Benjamin sprawled across my leather recliner, beer in hand, some game show blaring. He didn't look up. Hey, old man. Grab me another beer while you're up. From upstairs, Wendy's voice. Dad, is that you? I need to talk to you about money for the spa this weekend. I stood in my own entryway, flash drive in my pocket, and something inside me that had been bending for years finally snapped. My daughter's husband cheating 2 hours before the wedding. My other daughter living in my house, demanding spa money. My son-in-law ordering me to bring him beer in my chair in my house. I closed the door behind me with a quiet click. They thought I was the same man who'd left this morning. They were wrong. Sleep was impossible. I sat in my office past midnight, the flash drive from Carolyn on the desk beside my laptop. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those photographs. Samuel's face, confident, not guilty, not confused, confident. I opened my laptop and pulled up the wedding budget spreadsheet. $65,000 I'd spent. Venue, catering, photographer, flowers, band, everything wanted, but she'd insisted on one thing specifically. Cash gifts. No registry, no toasters or china patterns. Dad, we're starting fresh. We need flexibility. Cash is more practical. I'd thought she was being mature, practical. Now I wondered what I'd actually paid for. I grabbed a legal pad and started writing numbers, dates, details that suddenly seemed wrong. The guest list had been 200 people, mostly my business associates, my friends, people who had known Jolene since childhood, each envelope at the reception. I remembered the gift table overflowing. Jacqueline had hired someone specifically to collect them, count them, catalog them. $45,000 in cash and checks. She'd told me the total the week after the wedding, laughing about their good fortune. Samuel and I are so blessed, Dad. Everyone was so generous. I wrote that number down, circled it. Then I remembered something else. My business partner, Marcus Chen, had handed Samuel a check directly at the reception. "Welcome to the family, son. Start your life right." I'd been standing there. $15,000. Marcus was wealthy, generous to people he respected. Samuel had pocketed the check and smiled. "Thank you, sir. We won't forget this." $60,000 total from one wedding for a couple supposedly starting out. Why marry Jacqueline at all? I stared at that question on my legal pad. If Samuel had another woman, a woman wearing a wedding ring, why go through with a $65,000 ceremony? Why smile in those photos? Why take those vows? Unless the vows didn't matter. Unless the money did. My stomach turned. The night dragged on. I made coffee around 3 o'clock in the morning, stood at my kitchen window, watching the dark desert hills. Somewhere in Scottsdale, Jacqueline slept beside the man who'd betrayed her hours before their wedding. Or maybe she knew. Maybe she didn't care. That thought was worse than the first. At 7, I showered and dressed, business casual, khakis, polo shirt. Left the house before Wendy woke up. Didn't want questions. Didn't want to see Benjamin sprawled on my couch. The bank opened at 9. I drove to the downtown Phoenix branch where I did my business banking. Professional territory, safe ground. The manager, Patricia Williams, greeted me in her office. We'd worked together for 15 years. "Mr. Reynolds, what brings you in this morning?" I wanted to verify a check I wrote. "Wedding gift for my daughter, $20,000. Want to make sure it cleared properly." Patricia pulled it up on her computer. "Let me see. Yes, here it is. Joint account for Samuel and Jack and Fisher. Check cleared without issues." "Joint account," I said casually. "When did they open that?" Patricia scrolled. "Looks like 2 months ago. May 10th. 2 months before the wedding. Not years. Not when they got engaged. 2 months. They must have moved fast on wedding planning," I said, keeping my voice light. "Young people these days." Patricia smiled. "Everything happens quickly." I thanked her and left. In my truck, I sat with the engine running. May 10th. They had opened a joint account specifically to receive wedding money. Planned it, coordinated it. This wasn't romance. This was logistics. I drove home through late morning traffic, mind churning. The house looked quiet when I pulled into the garage. Benjamin's car was there. Old Camry he refused to maintain. Always asking for money to fix it. I entered through the garage door to the kitchen. Planned to go straight to my office. Then I heard Wendy's voice from upstairs. "Yeah, Dad looks suspicious lately." Her voice carried down from the second floor landing. Phone conversation. Volume too loud. The way she always talked. I don't know. Different somehow. "But don't worry, sis. Ben and I can stretch this another 6 months easy. By then, he'll cave and buy us that condo just to get rid of us." I froze in the hallway. Jacqueline's voice came through the phone speaker. Wendy had it on high volume, laughing. "Perfect. I've got 2 more months of playing happy wife. Then I file. Half those gifts are legally mine in Arizona. Samuel already agreed to 60-40 split. Easiest $45,000 I ever made." My hand found the wall, steadied myself. Wendy laughed. "And Sam's little girlfriend doesn't even know about the plan. This is perfect. Dad's so busy feeling proud of your marriage. He doesn't see anything. Keep him distracted." Jacqueline said. "Make him think you need something big. That way when I ask for the house down payment, it won't seem excessive by comparison. Already on it. Asked him for a new car yesterday. He looked annoyed. But he'll come around. He always does." I backed away. Silent, careful. Each step measured until I reached my office. Closed the door, leaned against it. My hands were shaking. 2 daughters, both lying, both using me. One planning divorce to steal wedding money. The other squatting in my house. Running out the clock until I bought them off. Playing happy wife. Easiest $45,000 I ever made. I'd almost let it happen. Almost written Jacqueline that $40,000 check for her house down payment. Almost. I sat down at my computer, typed property lawyer, Phoenix, Arizona. Robert McKenzie's name appeared third in the search results. 25 years experience, real estate law, family trusts, asset protection. His office had an opening tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. I made the appointment. Then I sat back in my chair and looked at my closed office door. Beyond it, Wendy was probably still on the phone. Benjamin was probably still planted on my couch. Both comfortable, both confident. They had no idea what was coming. I didn't either. Not exactly. But tomorrow I'd start finding out. Tomorrow I became something other than a wallet with a heartbeat. Mackenzie's office was in a glass building downtown, 23rd floor. I arrived 10 minutes early and spent them in the parking garage organizing my folder one last time. Wedding spreadsheet. Flash drive from Carolyn. My notes from last night. 3 pages of timelines. Quotes, dollar amounts, evidence. The elevator ride up felt longer than it was. I'd made business decisions for 40 years, negotiated supplier contracts, handled employee disputes, weathered economic downturns. This shouldn't feel different, but it did. This was my family, my daughters. The elevator doors opened. No, not family. Not anymore. They'd made that choice when they turned me into a transaction. The reception area was professional. Glass desk, leather chairs, abstract art I didn't understand but recognized as expensive. A woman looked up from her computer. Mr. Reynolds, Mr. Mackenzie is ready for you. His office had floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Phoenix, mahogany desk, law books lining one wall, diplomas and bar certificates in frames. Robert Mackenzie stood as I entered, 50s, gray at the temples, firm handshake. Mr. Reynolds, please have a seat. Can I offer you coffee? Yes, black. He poured from a kerf on the credenza, handed me a ceramic mug, settled behind his desk. I reviewed your intake form. You mentioned property issues and family matters. Tell me what's happening. Start wherever makes sense to you. I placed my manila folder on his desk. Opened it methodically. A month ago, I paid for my daughter's wedding, $65,000. 3 days ago, the photographer showed me pictures of my son-in-law with another woman 2 hours before the ceremony. Yesterday, I discovered my daughters planned this. The marriage was a scam to collect cash gifts and split them. Mackenzie's pen paused over his legal pad. When you say plan this, you have evidence both your daughter and her husband intended to divorce from the beginning. I overheard my younger daughter on the phone with her sister. Quote, 2 more months and I file for divorce. Half the gifts are legally mine. Samuel already agreed to 60-40. Those were my daughter's exact words. I slid the flash drive across his desk. The affair photos are here. Metadata included. Timestamps, GPS coordinates, everything. Mackenzie inserted the drive into his computer, clicked through files. His expression didn't change, but his jaw tightened slightly. And your younger daughter, Wendy? She's been living in my house for 4 years. Her boyfriend with her. No rent, no lease, constant money demands. I pulled out my handwritten notes. Yesterday's phone call, she told Jack and they'd stretch it another 6 months until I bought them a condo. Mackenzie made notes, circled specific details, underlined 4 years and no lease. Mr. Reynolds, in Arizona, property law is very clear. Your house is your property. If there's no written rental agreement and you've indicated there isn't, you have the right to begin eviction proceedings. The standard timeline is 30 days after written notice. And my younger daughter, her boyfriend, they've lived there 4 years without paying rent. Can they fight this? Not successfully. Without a lease, they're essentially guests who've overstayed. Arizona law protects property owners. The 30-day notice is a courtesy, not a negotiation. Something loosened in my chest. A courtesy, not a negotiation. Mackenzie pulled a thick book from his shelf. Arizona Property Code, opened to a flagged section, turned it so I could read. I leaned forward, scanned the legal text, residential tenancy requirements, notice periods, eviction procedures. It's straightforward, Mackenzie said. We draft a formal notice. You serve it personally or via certified mail. They have 30 days to vacate. If they refuse, we file with the court for removal. Given the lack of any rental agreement, judges rule quickly on these cases. What about the rest? I looked up from the book. My assets, my business. I don't want them getting anything when I'm gone. They've made it clear. I'm just a resource to them. Mackenzie closed the property code. That's where an irrevocable trust becomes valuable. We transfer your assets, house, business interests, savings into a trust managed by a professional trustee. You maintain control during your lifetime, but after death, distribution follows your instructions. It's much harder to challenge than a simple will. Harder to challenge, I repeated, nearly impossible if structured correctly. A will can be contested. People claim undue influence, mental incompetence, all sorts of arguments. A properly executed irrevocable trust established while you're clearly competent and acting freely. That's a different legal standard entirely. I sat back. How soon can we start? Mackenzie smiled slightly. First real emotion he'd shown. Today, I'll need you to sign an engagement agreement. My fees for this work, eviction notices, will revision, and complete trust creation will be $8,500. The trust work alone typically runs $6,000. But given the connected nature of your situation, I can offer a package rate, $8,500. I'd spent $65,000 on a fake wedding, another $45,000 collected by my daughter and her accomplice husband. Tens of thousands more over 4 years supporting Wendy and Benjamin. That's acceptable. Mackenzie pulled documents from his drawer. Engagement agreement, fee structure, timeline, estimate. We'll have the eviction notices drafted by Friday morning. You'll serve them this weekend. I recommend doing it personally, so there's no question of receipt. After service, the 30-day clock starts. They must vacate by that date or face legal removal. And the trust 2 to 3 weeks for complete asset transfer. I'll work with your financial institutions directly. We'll need current statements for all accounts, property deeds, business ownership documents. My paralegal will coordinate with you on specifics. He slid the contract across his desk. I read it carefully. Years of business had taught me that. Scope of work, fee schedule, timeline, everything Mackenzie had promised, formalized in legal language. I signed with a steady hand. Mackenzie countersigned, dated it, handed me copies. Mr. Reynolds, I should mention, this will likely destroy your relationship with your daughters permanently. Once you serve those eviction notices, once they discover the trust structure, there's no walking this back. I know, and you're prepared for that. I thought about Wendy's laugh on the phone. Jacqueline's casual cruelty playing happy wife. Easiest $45,000 I ever made. They destroyed the relationship themselves. I'm just acknowledging reality. Mackenzie nodded. Then we're clear. I'll call you Friday morning when the documents are ready. We shook hands again. Longer this time. Something passed between us. Professional respect, maybe. Understanding. I left his office with copies of the contract, timeline outline, trust structure, summary, legal documents that meant one simple thing. I was taking my life back. The elevator down was faster than the ride up. Gravity working in my favor. In the parking garage, I sat in my truck with the contract copies on the passenger seat. Eviction procedures, will modification summary, trust structure outline. My phone buzzed. Text from Jacqueline. Dad, did you think about the down payment? We really need an answer. The house won't wait forever. I looked at the message for a long moment. $40,000 for a house she'd live in for 2 months before filing for divorce. I deleted the text without responding. Then I started the truck and headed home. Wendy and Benjamin would be there comfortable and confident, expecting nothing to change. They had 30 days left to enjoy that confidence. I had 30 days to prepare for war. The envelopes arrived Friday morning. Mackenzie's return address, heavy paper, official seals. I set them on my desk and looked at them for most of the day. By evening, I was ready. I could hear Wendy and Benjamin in the living room. Benjamin's voice carried, excited, animated, another scheme, another ask. I picked up the envelopes and walked down the hall. They were on the couch comfortable. Benjamin gesturing, Wendy nodding. My television, my couch, my living room. And craft breweries are huge right now, Benjamin was saying. Phoenix market is perfect. We'd need about $30,000 to start. Your dad would see returns in a year. Easy. Wendy laughed. He'll do it. He always does. Just frame it as helping family and he'll write the check. I stepped into the room. They looked up, smiling, expecting nothing. I placed the envelopes on the coffee table between them. What's this? Wendy picked up hers, puzzled. Dad, we're talking about Ben's brewery idea. Official eviction notice. You have 30 days to find other housing. The words landed like stones in still water, ripples of silence spreading outward. Wendy tore open her envelope, read the heading. Her face drained of color. Benjamin grabbed his, scanned it. Have you lost your mind, old man? This is our home. This is my house. You can't just kick us out like we're strangers. Benjamin stepped toward me, fists clenched, face wringing. We're family. Wendy's tears started right on schedule. Dad, what are you doing? I'm your daughter. How can you throw us out? I looked at her calmly. You haven't paid rent in 4 years. You don't respect me. You see me as a wallet. Time to grow up. This is insane. Benjamin moved closer, invading my space. Old intimidation tactic. Everyone will know what kind of father you are. Throwing out your own kid. The notice is legal. 30 days. I suggest you start packing. Wendy grabbed my arm. Dad, please. We can work this out. We'll pay rent. Will I removed her hand, gently but firmly, turned toward the hallway. You'll regret this. Benjamin's voice followed me. You'll regret this. I walked to my office, closed the door, locked it with an audible click. Behind me, chaos erupted. Wendy's wailing, Benjamin shouting, furniture scraping. I sat at my desk and listened. Their panic was music. 10 minutes passed. The shouting subsided into intense whispers. Then Wendy's voice again. Higher. Phone call. I pressed my ear to the door. Gave us eviction papers. 30 days. Pause. Jack will responding. I don't know what happened. He was cold like we were strangers. Longer pause. We need to do something. Jacqueline's voice carried through the phone speaker. Calm, strategic. I couldn't make out words, but the tone was clear. Planning mode. Okay. Yes, tomorrow. Bring Samuel. We'll figure this out. More murmuring. Then Benjamin's voice lower but venomous. He's going to regret this. I moved back to my desk and opened my laptop. Mackenzie had sent documents that afternoon. Trust creation paperwork, asset protection strategy. They thought this was about the house. They had no idea I was protecting everything. My phone buzzed. Text from Jack Willen. Dad, Wendy called me. We need to talk. Coming over tomorrow with Samuel. This has gone too far. I read it twice. They were regrouping, coordinating, about to launch their counterattack. Let them come. I pulled up a calendar and marked the date. Day 1 of 30. The clock had started. In the living room, Wendy was still crying. Benjamin was pacing. I could hear his footsteps. Back and forth. Back and forth. They'd lived here for 4 years without contributing a single dollar. 4 years of treating my home like a hotel. 4 years of demands and disrespect and assumptions. 30 days left to enjoy the privilege. I looked at Mackenzie's trust documents again. 2 to 3 weeks until finalization. The timing would be tight, but it would work. By the time they realized the full scope of what I'd done, it would be too late to stop. Another text from Jacqueline. We'll straighten this out. Don't worry. She wasn't texting me. She was texting Wendy. But Wendy must have shown her my number, too, because a third message came through. Dad, I know you're upset about something. Let's talk like adults tomorrow. Talk like adults. The woman planning to divorce her husband in 2 months to steal wedding gifts wanted to talk like adults. I turned off my phone. Tomorrow they'd come with their performance. Concerned daughter, diplomatic son-in-law, reasoned arguments, emotional manipulation. I'd seen the documentary already. I knew how it ended. Outside my office door, the house finally went quiet. Wendy and Benjamin had probably gone upstairs to strategize or cry or drink. I didn't care which. I opened a notebook and started writing, documenting the evening. Their reactions, their threats, Benjamin's aggression, Wendy's tears, everything Mackenzie might need if this ended up in court. The pen moved steadily across the page. Factual, detailed, dispassionate. Somewhere during the 4th year of their residence. I'd stopped being a father and become an ATM. Now, I was neither. I was a property owner exercising his legal rights, and I had 29 days left to prepare for whatever came next. Saturday morning, I came downstairs to find Wendy in her bathrobe sprawled across the couch. Dad. Her voice was weak, theatrical. I can't get up. My heart is racing. The stress from this eviction. I think you should call a doctor. Benjamin hovered nearby, arms crossed, protective stance, both watching for my reaction. I walked past them to the kitchen. There's cold medicine in the cabinet, I said without stopping. Behind me, silence. Then Wendy's frustrated exhale. I poured coffee and carried it to my office. Closed the door. Sunday afternoon, Benjamin found me in the garage, blocked the doorway with his body. You know what people will say, right? Aggressive tone. Face too close to mine. That you threw out your own daughter. Your pregnant daughter. Wendy wasn't pregnant. Just another lie. Your business partners, your church friends, they'll all know what kind of man you really are. I checked my watch. The eviction is legal. You have 26 days left. Now move. He didn't. We stood there for 10 seconds. 20. His jaw working, fists clenched. Finally, he stepped aside. I got in my truck and drove to the hardware store. Stayed there for 3 hours, reviewing inventory, talking to managers, being anywhere but home. When I returned that evening, an envelope sat on my kitchen counter. Handwritten heading, proposal. I opened it. Benjamin's handwriting, itemized list. Investment opportunity, craft brewery partnership. Initial capital required $50,000. Terms, Wendy and Benjamin remain in residence. Pay nominal rent $500 a month. Repay investment within 5 years. 50,000 up from the 30 he'd mentioned Friday night. Desperation inflating the numbers. I read the whole thing. 2 pages. Financial projections pulled from nowhere. Promises of returns. Guarantees of family harmony. At the bottom, this solves everything. We stay, you profit. Family stays together. I folded it, walked to the living room where they sat waiting, and handed it back. No. Wendy's face crumpled. Dad, we're trying to compromise. No, I repeated and returned to my office with my dinner. Through the wall, I heard their frustrated whispers, accusations, disbelief, the sound of dishes slamming. Monday and Tuesday passed similarly. Wendy alternated between tears and silence. Benjamin oscillated between threats and bargaining. I maintained my routine. Work, home, office, meals alone. Their presence became background noise. Wednesday evening, Jacqueline arrived. She'd called that afternoon. Dad, we're coming over for dinner. Samuel and I. We need to talk as a family. Not a request, an announcement. They arrived at 6. Jacqueline carried grocery bags. We're cooking tonight. You work too hard. Samuel smiled. Firm handshake. Horace. Hope you don't mind us just showing up. Jacqueline was worried. Family should support each other through difficult times. They took over my kitchen. Jacqueline chopped vegetables. Samuel set the table. Wendy emerged from upstairs. Makeup perfect. No sign of her illness. Benjamin appeared, freshly showered, playing the reasonable adult. An intervention carefully staged. We sat for the meal they had prepared. Chicken, rice, salad. Nice presentation. Jacqueline poured wine. Samuel made small talk about his car sales work. Everyone performed normally. Then Jacqueline shifted gears. Dad, this house must be a lot to manage alone. All these rooms, the yard work, the maintenance. Have you thought about something smaller? A nice condo? I cut my chicken. Chewed slowly. Samuel picked up the thread. The real estate market is strong right now. Houses in Paradise Valley sell fast. You could get top dollar. Help set everyone up comfortably. There it was. Jack will touch the picture frame on the side table. Adjusted it. Territorial gesture. We'd help you move, of course. And whatever proceeds you got. It would be nice to share with family. Help Wendy and Ben get started. Help Samuel and me with our house down payment. Everyone benefits. The house. They wanted the house sale money, not inheritance someday. Now, the realization clicked into place with perfect clarity. Dad, I'm just saying you're getting older. Wouldn't it be easier to have something manageable? Less responsibility. I set down my fork, looked at each of them. Jacqueline, Samuel, Wendy, Benjamin. 4 faces, 4 different masks, 1 agenda. I'm not selling my house. Jacqueline laughed lightly. Edge underneath. Dad, no one's pressuring you. We're just concerned. I stood. Thank you for your concern. I'm fine. Good night. The scrape of my chair, the walk to my office, the door closing. Behind me, shocked silence, then urgent whispers. I grabbed my phone and dialed Mackenzie's cell. I need to see you tonight. It's urgent. I'll be at the office in 30 minutes. I waited until I heard their cars leave. Jacqueline's Mercedes, then Benjamin's Camry following, coordinating, planning their next move. I grabbed my keys and drove downtown. Mackenzie's office was lit. 23rd floor window glowing. He met me in the lobby. They're coordinating strategy to acquire my assets, I said as we rode the elevator up. The eviction triggered something. Now they want me to sell the house, split the proceeds. Tonight's dinner was reconnaissance. In his office, Mackenzie pulled out fresh documents. Then we accelerate the trust creation. Everything, house, business, savings, transfers to professional management. You maintain full control during your lifetime. But after death, distribution follows your exact instructions. They can't challenge it. Can't manipulate it. How fast can we move? I'll start paperwork tomorrow. We'll also change your bank account beneficiaries immediately. Remove your daughters entirely. $5,000 for the trust creation, but it's worth every penny. Do it. He pulled up forms on his computer. Beneficiary change authorizations. Trust structure outlines. I signed everything. Electronic signatures witness legal. 40 minutes later, I left with copies of everything. The drive home felt different, lighter somehow. I arrived near midnight. The house was dark except for the living room lamp. Inside, Wendy and Benjamin had gone to bed. Empty wine glasses on my coffee table. They'd probably spent the evening plotting with Jacqueline on speakerphone. Let them plot. I had copies of the trust paperwork in my briefcase. Mackenzie would start asset transfers tomorrow. Within 3 weeks, everything I'd built would be protected. My phone showed 3 missed calls. Jacqueline, no messages. She knew something had shifted tonight. Maybe sensed that dinner conversation revealed too much. I thought about their performance. Samuel's diplomat act. Jacqueline's suggestion to sell the house. Everyone benefits. Everyone except me. They'd miscalculated. Thought I was a weak old man they could manipulate into surrendering my life's work. I was done being weak. 26 days until Wendy and Benjamin left. 3 weeks until the trust was finalized. They had that long to enjoy feeling like they still had leverage. I had that long to make sure they'd never manipulate me again. 2 weeks had passed since I'd served the eviction notice. 15 days remained. I set the dining room table myself that evening. 5 place settings. The good china I hadn't used since my daughters were children. Cloth napkins, water glasses. At my seat, I placed a manila folder face down. The folder contained 8 printed photographs. Samuel and a red-haired woman, time-stamped, geotagged. 2 hours before his wedding to my daughter. I'd invited everyone, both daughters, both sons-in-law. A family dinner, I'd said. They arrived separately, Jacqueline and Samuel first, 15 minutes early. I heard them in the living room, whispered conversation with Wendy and Benjamin, coordinating, planning their approach. I called them to the table. The tension was immediate. They sat, exchanged glances, waited. I served roasted chicken and vegetables. Simple meal, nothing elaborate. This wasn't about hospitality. We ate in near silence for 10 minutes. Forks scraping plates, water glasses lifted, the sound of force normally. Then Jacqueline started. Dad, we've all been talking. The situation with Wendy, it's stressful for everyone. Maybe it's time to think about simplifying the house, the business. It's a lot for one person. Samuel nodded, supportive. Horace, no one's saying you can't handle it. We just want to help. Selling at the right time in this market. We could help you organize everything. Make it easy. Wendy leaned forward, gentle voice. Dad, we're worried about you. All alone here. Wouldn't a nice condo be better? Less maintenance, less stress. I set down my fork, reached for the manila folder. Before we continue, there's something you should see. Jacqueline picked it up. Suspicious. What is this? I took a sip of water. Photographs from your wedding. Particularly interesting are the shots of Samuel with a red-haired woman 2 hours before the ceremony on the restaurant terrace. Samuel's face drained. That's not Jacqueline opened the folder. I watched her eyes move across the first image then the second. Her expression hardened into stone. Where did you get these? I ignored the question. I also overheard a phone conversation between you and Wendy. Let me quote. 2 more months and I file for divorce. Half the gifts are legally mine. Samuel already agreed to 60-40 split. Those were your exact words, Jacqueline. Wendy's hand flew to her mouth. Benjamin half stood. You spied on us. You had no right. I raised one hand, palm out. Stop. Benjamin sat. I've created an irrevocable trust. My house, my business, my savings, everything is now protected. After my death, you'll receive the minimum required by Arizona law, not a cent more. Jacqueline's voice rose. You can't do this. We're your family. I stood, pushed my chair back slowly, folded my napkin beside my plate. Wendy and Benjamin have 15 days to find new housing. This conversation is over. Dad, Jacqueline stood too. You're destroying this family. Over what? Some misunderstanding? I paused at the dining room doorway. Didn't turn around. I'm not destroying anything. I'm protecting what I built from people who saw me as a resource, not a father. I walked down the hall to my office, closed the door, locked it. Behind me, voices erupted. Jacqueline shouting. Samuel's defensive protests. Wendy crying. Benjamin's angry curses. I sat at my desk and opened my laptop. Email from Mackenzie sent an hour ago. Trust documents ready for final signature. Can you come in tomorrow morning? I typed back 9 a.m. from the dining room. The argument continued. Jacqueline demanding I come out. Benjamin threatening to break down the door. Empty threat. Wendy sobs carrying down the hallway. They could argue all night. It wouldn't change anything. The photos were on the table. The truth was spoken. The trust was nearly complete. 15 days until Wendy and Benjamin left my house. However long it took for Jacqueline and Samuel's fraudulent marriage to collapse on its own, I'd spent 2 weeks watching them manipulate, scheme, coordinate, watching them treat my home like their playground and my wallet like their property. Now they knew I'd been watching back and I'd already won. Mackenzie's office at 9 the next morning. Jennifer Chan was already there, a specialist in estate planning he brought in to finalize the trust. Mr. Reynolds, she shook my hand. 50 professional, efficient papers spread across the conference table like a legal fortress. Everything's ready for your signature. I sat down and started signing. Page after page, initials here, full signature there, transfer of primary residence, business interests, bank accounts, investment portfolios, all moving into the irrevocable trust structure. This transfers your house to trust management, Jennifer explained. Upon your death, distribution follows these instructions. Minimum legal requirement to immediate family. Remainder to the charities you selected. And my daughters can't challenge this. They can try. Her voice was certain. But irrevocable trusts are extremely difficult to overturn. This is as protected as assets can be. I signed the final page. Done. 40 years of work. Protected. I drove home feeling lighter than I had in months. The next 13 days became a masterclass in psychological warfare. Day 2, I found my coffee maker shattered on the kitchen floor. Benjamin lounged at the table. Newspaper spread in front of him. Oh, that he shrugged. Slipped out of my hands this morning. Accidents happen. I swept up the glass without comment. 11 days, I said, tossing the pieces in the trash. Day 4. I heard Wendy talking to Mrs. Patterson over the back fence. Our neighbor. I watched from the window. Wendy dabbed her eyes with tissue, dramatic gestures. He's throwing us out with nowhere to go. I don't know what's gotten into him. Mrs. Patterson looked uncomfortable. I'm sure you and your father will work things out, dear. I don't know. He's changed. It's like he's not the same person. I turned away from the window. Let her perform for the neighbors. It changed nothing. Day 7. Jacqueline arrived with a woman carrying a clipboard. Dad, this is Dr. Morrison. She's a psychologist. We thought it might help to talk. I remained standing, arms crossed. I didn't agree to any conversation. The woman smiled professionally. Mr. Reynolds, your daughter is concerned about recent behavioral changes. Sudden decisions, cutting off family. These can sometimes indicate underlying issues that stop. I looked at Jacqueline. Out both of you now. Dad, she's trying to help. If you just listen, this is my house. You're leaving. They left. Day 10. I came home from the store to find my office door slightly ajar. I always closed it completely. On my desk, the trust documents sat exactly where I'd left them. Almost exactly. The corner was bent differently. Someone had looked through them. That evening, Wendy was quieter than usual. Benjamin kept glancing at her. They knew now. Really knew. The trust was real. The money was gone. Day 12. Wendy knocked on my office door. Afternoon. Benjamin wasn't with her. Dad, can we talk? Just us. I gestured to the chair. She sat, tissue already in hand, eyes red. I've been thinking about everything. You were right about Ben, about how we've been living. He's not a good influence on me. I see that now. I waited. I've made terrible mistakes. I'm asking, begging for your forgiveness. Another chance. I could change. I could be the daughter you deserve. The performance was flawless. Trembling voice, vulnerable posture, leaning forward. Every manipulation technique in her arsenal. I let the silence stretch. Watched her. Really watched her. If you'd truly realized your mistakes, Wendy, you wouldn't have come here asking for forgiveness as a transaction. You'd have come without expecting anything in return. But you're asking for the house, for money, for me to change my mind about the trust. No, I just want me to believe Benjamin corrupted you, that you're a victim. But I heard you on the phone with Jalene planning this. You were laughing both of you about manipulating me. Her face changed. Tears stopped. Voice went hard. Fine. Fine. You want to be alone? Be alone. But don't expect us to care what happens to you. I didn't stand, didn't react. 8 days, Wendy, start packing. She turned and walked out. The door slammed hard enough to rattle the frame. Through the ceiling, I heard her stomping upstairs. Benjamin's voice questioning. Then Wendy's angry response, words muffled, but tone clear. She was telling him it hadn't worked, that I wouldn't cave, that they needed to actually find an apartment. Reality finally breaking through. I pulled up my calendar. 8 days until the eviction deadline. Mackenzie had already arranged for the sheriff if they refused to leave voluntarily. My phone showed a text from Jacqueline. I hope you're happy. You've destroyed this family. I deleted it without responding. The trust document sat in my desk drawer, signed, notarized, filed. Every asset I had spent 40 years building, protected. The house was mine. The business was secure. My will reflected my choices, not their expectations. 8 more days of their presence. 8 more days of psychological warfare. I no longer felt. Then silence, space, peace. For the first time in 4 years, I'd have my house back. For the first time in months, I'd have my life back. The 30th day. I pulled into my driveway at 10 that morning. The sheriff's vehicle arrived 30 seconds behind me. Mackenzie's car followed. We'd coordinated this official, legal, no room for argument. Deputy Martinez stepped out. Mid-40s, experienced, professional. We'd spoken on the phone twice. He knew the situation. Mr. Reynolds, he shook my hand. Let's get this done. Mackenzie joined us, briefcase in hand. Everything's in order. The eviction notice was properly served. The 30 days have elapsed. They're officially trespassing now. We walked to my front door together, my house, my property. But I knocked anyway. 3 firm knocks. Silence. Then Benjamin's voice muffled, "Go away. You can't do this." Martinez stepped forward, hand resting on his duty belt. "Sir, this is Deputy Martinez with the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. I'm here to enforce a legal eviction order. Open the door now or I'll be forced to open it myself. That becomes criminal trespass. Your choice." A long pause. Whispered argument inside. Then the door cracked open. Wendy's face appeared. Red eyes. Defiant expression trying to mask panic. Martinez pushed the door wider. Entered professionally. Mackenzie and I followed. The living room looked like a war zone. Clothes scattered everywhere. Pizza boxes stacked on my coffee table. Beer cans. Chaos. But no packed boxes. Nothing ready. You folks weren't planning on leaving, were you? Martinez surveyed the room, making notes. All right, you have 2 hours to collect personal belongings. That means clothes, personal items, no furniture, no fixtures. The clock starts now. 2 hours? Wendy's voice pitched high. We can't possibly. You've had 30 days, ma'am. 2 hours is generous. Benjamin appeared from the kitchen, unshaven, angry. This is insane. We have rights. Mackenzie's voice cut through. You have 0 rights to this property. No lease, no rental agreement, no ownership. This is the final day. Benjamin looked at me. You're really doing this? Your own daughter? I didn't respond. Didn't need to. Martinez checked his phone. 2 hours starting now. What followed was chaos in slow motion. Wendy frantically stuffing clothes into garbage bags, crying intermittently. Benjamin throwing things into a duffel bag with aggressive movements, muttering curses under his breath. After everything we did for him, Benjamin said loudly enough for me to hear. Living in this huge place alone like a miser. Martinez's voice sharpened. Sir, this is Mr. Reynolds' property. I suggest you focus on packing and keep comments to yourself. I stood in the doorway, watched, didn't help, didn't speak, just witnessed them dismantling their unauthorized residency piece by piece. Wendy tried catching my eye multiple times. The manipulation playbook was still open, but I'd memorized every page, knew every trick, wasn't falling for any of it. 2 hours later, they carried the last bags to their car. An older sedan, dented, struggling financially already. At the car, Wendy turned. Last attempt. You'll regret this. When you're alone and need help, don't come crying to us. I met her eyes, calm, certain. I won't. They drove away, Wendy's car disappearing down the street, taking their presence, their demands, their manipulation with them. I stood in my doorway, my house, truly mine, for the first time in 4 years. Martinez handed me paperwork. They're officially out. If they return without permission, call immediately. That's criminal trespass. Thank you, Deputy. Mackenzie shook my hand. Well done, Horace. Most people cave before this point. You held the line. After they left, I walked through the house slowly. Living room where Benjamin had sprawled. Kitchen where Wendy had demanded money. Upstairs, where they had occupied the guest room like permanent royalty. Empty now. All of it. Mine. That evening, my phone rang. Jacqueline. I considered not answering, but curiosity won. Yes. I hope you're satisfied. Her voice was ice. You destroyed this family. Everything we had. Was it worth it? I looked at the family photo on the shelf. Old picture, different time, different people. I didn't destroy the family, Jacqueline. I stopped letting it destroy me. Silence. Then her voice cracked slightly. You've changed. I don't even know who you are anymore. I'm the same person. I just stopped pretending I didn't notice being used. We'll see how long you last alone. You'll need us eventually. She hung up. I set the phone down. 3 days later, it buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Samuel, I read it standing in my kitchen. Horace, I saw the photos. I know you know. Look, Jackie knew about my relationship, too. This whole marriage was an arrangement. We're divorcing anyway. I'm asking you to stay out of it. I can make it worth your while. 10K to let this play out quietly. I read it once, deleted it, blocked the number. Jacqueline had known about the affair all along. The entire marriage was a scam from both sides. They had orchestrated it together, collected the money, planned to split it, and now Samuel wanted to pay me to stay quiet. $10,000 to let their fraudulent divorce proceed smoothly. I looked around my living room, the furniture I'd chosen, the silence I'd earned, the space I'd reclaimed. 4 years ago, I'd opened my door to Wendy and Benjamin temporarily. Let them take over my home, my peace, my life. I'd paid for a wedding that was a business transaction, written checks that funded schemes, believed I was helping family when I was funding my own exploitation. Now the house was empty except for me. Wendy and Benjamin were gone. Jacqueline had cut contact. Samuel was sending desperate bribes I wouldn't dignify with responses. I walked to the window. The sun was setting over Paradise Valley, painting the desert gold. My house, my life, my choices. They thought they'd won when they moved in. When they manipulated, when they schemed, they'd been wrong. I had late August. I sat on my terrace with morning coffee, watching the sun climb over Paradise Valley. The air was already warm. But up here on the hillside, a breeze made it bearable. Quiet. Completely quiet, except for birds and the distant hum of the city below. 3 weeks since the eviction. 3 weeks of living alone in my house. My actual house, not a building I shared with resentful tenants who called me dad. The coffee maker worked. Benjamin had smashed my old one in a fit of passive-aggressive rage. I'd replaced it the day after they left. Small thing, but it mattered. Everything worked now. The television remote stayed where I put it. My chair in the living room held only me. The refrigerator contained food I'd bought, eaten at my own pace without someone demanding I pay for their groceries. Simple things, revolutionary things. Wendy had called twice this week. I'd let both go to voicemail, deleted the messages without listening. She and Benjamin had found a cheap apartment on the outskirts. Benjamin was working some regular job. They were figuring it out. Without my money, without my house. Good. Jacqueline had called once too, 2 weeks ago, asking for money. I need help with a down payment after the divorce. Just $20,000. You're my father. I'd said one word. No. Then hung up. No explanation, no guilt, just boundary. She and Samuel had divorced as planned. The court had sorted through their wedding gift situation. Both lost money to lawyers. Ironic justice. They'd schemed to collect cash, ended up spending it on legal fees to divide what remained. The postman arrived mid-morning. I retrieved the mail, carried it back to the terrace. An envelope from Mackenzie's firm. Heavy paper. I opened it with my letter opener. Final trust documents. All filed, all secured. Mr. Reynolds, the letter began. All trust documents have been finalized and filed with the state. Your business interests have been transferred to trust management. Estate distribution instructions are secured. You maintain full control during your lifetime with ironclad protection thereafter. I read it twice, then set it aside. Complete. Legal fortress built. Estate protected. Life reclaimed. My phone sat on the table beside the guitar learning book I'd been working through. Wednesday, I had my third lesson. I'd always wanted to play. 40 years of meaning to someday, when there was time now. Friday, I volunteered at the senior center doing repairs. My hardware expertise useful, helping people who needed it, who appreciated it, who didn't demand it as entitled, right? The phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, then did. This is Horace, Mr. Reynolds. A woman's voice familiar. This is Carolyn Thornton, the photographer from your daughter's wedding. I hope you don't mind me calling. I've been thinking about you, wondering how things turned out. Carolyn, the woman who'd shown me the truth. Carolyn, no, I don't mind at all. Actually, I'm glad you called. Relief in her voice. I wasn't sure if I should. That day in my studio showing you those photos, I've thought about it so many times. I hope I did the right thing. You did. You absolutely did. Those photos changed everything. You gave me truth when everyone else was feeding me lies. And how are things now, if you don't mind me asking? I looked out over the valley, the morning light, the peace. Things are good, Carolyn. For the first time in a very long time, maybe years, things are truly good. I'm so glad to hear that. You deserve peace. I surprise myself. Would you like to get coffee sometime? I'd like to thank you properly, and honestly it would just be nice to talk. She was smiling. I could hear it. I'd like that. How about next week? Next week sounds perfect. After we hung up, I stayed on the terrace. Coffee with Carolyn next week. A guitar lesson on Wednesday. Volunteer shift at the senior center. Friday. Business inspection. Thursday. A life, a routine built around what I wanted, not what others demanded. I thought about the journey, the photographer's call that shattered my illusions, the evidence, the overheard conversation, the lawyer consultations, the eviction notice, the family dinner where I laid everything bare, the final days of psychological warfare, the sheriff at my door, each step necessary, each boundary essential. My daughters thought I'd destroyed the family, that I'd chosen loneliness over love. They were wrong. I'd chosen myself over their version of love that looked suspiciously like theft. I'd chosen peace over obligation. I'd chosen truth over comfortable lies. The sun climbed higher, warming the terrace. I finished my coffee. Inside, the guitar waited. A life waited. A future built on honest foundations, not manipulative quicksand. Wendy would call again. I'd let it go to voicemail again. Benjamin might text. I'd delete it. Jacqueline might demand. I'd decline. They were learning to solve their own problems. I was learning to let them. The trust document sat on my desk inside. Every asset protected. Every decision mine. I stood and walked to the terrace railing. Looked out over Paradise Valley. My home, my view, my peace. Alone, yes, but free. And for the first time in years, maybe the first time ever, that was exactly what I wanted. The next chapter was mine to write. Coffee with someone who didn't want anything except conversation. Guitar music made for my own enjoyment. Repairs done because I chose to help, not because someone demanded it. A life lived on my terms. Justice wasn't revenge. It was protection. It was boundaries. It was saying no when no was the only sane answer. I'd saved myself. And that was worth everything.